Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back here at ECCMID TV, brought live to you from the back of the exhibition center, the exhibition hall at the Bella Center here in Copenhagen, Denmark. My name is Judith Cohen. I am your TV host here, and it is with great pleasure that I get to introduce two new guests who have just taken place here in my studio. On the far left, we have Professor Evelina Tacconelli, Professor of Infectious Diseases at the University of Verona and also chairperson of ECCMID, if I'm correct. ECCMID is the European Committee on Infection Control. And she's joined by Professor Marc Bonten, Professor of Molecular Epidemiology of Infectious Diseases at the University Medical Center of Utrecht in the Netherlands, and also recently appointed as CEO of ECCMID, the European Research Alliance on Infectious Diseases. So it's quite a mouthful, but we're very, very happy to have you both here with us in the ECCMID TV studio. Also because you served just before the ECCMID started, the day before, at the ECCMID-affiliated collab meeting between ESCCMID and the Global Leaders Group on Antimicrobial Resistance, AMR, which is a very high-level meeting for both ESCCMID, I think, and as well as the Global Leaders Group. Both of you were panelists there. Marc, can I ask you, how was it?
It was a very interesting meeting. There were two panels, so I was in the second group, Evelina was in the first group.
Okay.
It was a meeting that I will never forget, because on stage I noticed that I had sent in the wrong slide deck for the wrong presentation, so I had to deliver my presentation without any slides, but...
Was it the same topic at least?
It was the same topic.
Oh, okay. So it was AMR that you were presenting on.
Actually, it was a very good meeting.
Did you go ahead with the new slide deck or the one that you intended to?
No, the slide deck that was uploaded was the talk that I delivered this morning.
Okay.
So it would not have been good to already present it there.
Wow. Yeah. Well, yeah. The show must go on, of course, because it was it's spoken of as a high-level meeting. Can you explain a little bit to our viewers why it was such a high-level meeting? What was the importance or the sense of urgency that was behind this meeting?
I think the meeting was intended to create awareness, mostly also among politicians, on the importance of antibiotic resistance as a global crisis, what we call a silent pandemic, which already was there before COVID, and then, let's say, all the attention went, of course, to COVID for several years, but now it's important to refocus attention also to antibiotic resistance, and one part of the discussion was on to create awareness of the importance of investments in new diagnostics, rapid diagnostics, in order to better guide antibiotic treatment in many parts of the world. And that was, for me, the high-level topic that was addressed.
Yeah, and for you, Evelina, can you tell us a little bit more as your role as a panelist during this meeting? What did you talk about?
I think one of the most interesting part of that meeting was that there was a specific focus also on lesson learned from the COVID-19 pandemic. And my point when I was thinking about which would be the most important message to bring on the table for discussion was that the lesson that we learned is indeed two lessons. There is one that is what we learned before COVID-19 and we never learned really. So my point is COVID-19 just brought to the light a lot of mistakes in terms of infection control and usage of drugs that we have been doing before COVID-19. And all this were just reinforced by the COVID-19 pandemic. So there are a lot of lessons learned, and my only afraid is just that we will forget very easily.
Yeah.
And this is probably one of the most important messages for our politicians. Don't do it. So keep the memory what happened and try also to link it to what was going on even before COVID, because antimicrobial resistance existed before.
Yeah.
And COVID just stand on the top.
And,
of
and
this
what is the most
problem.
important message that should not be forgotten? Is it that we need to be better prepared, or that we need to stand still more at the way we prescribe or the way we manage infectious diseases?
I think we need to be better prepared, but this applies to everything in healthcare.
Yeah.
Preparation and procedure, they
Yeah.
are always the answer. But I think it's also a question of not accepting anymore the vast heterogeneity that you have among countries and among hospitals. So the gold standard for healthcare cannot be linked to the place you were born.
No.
And today it is.
Yeah. And do you believe that after this meeting that it became more top of mind, especially to the policymakers that were present?
I'm an optimistic person, not so optimistic to believe that just one meeting could change. But yes, I believe that if we start convincing politicians that might have a role in the global decision as as the people involved in that meeting, then they can bring further our messages. Because obviously my role is minor in comparison what a global group of politicians they can do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, Mark, do you believe are there concrete actions that should be taken as next steps in order to get AMR more on everyone's?
Well, that's the high-level part of such a meeting, that it's creating awareness for things that we think that should happen, and then it should be taken up by the policymakers and the influencers of the policymakers to make it happen. So it's not a meeting that you leave with the idea, okay, now we're going to do this. It's more that we are on this track. We need to each time reinforce the message and the, let's say, the importance of the message. And then hopefully with the help of this global leadership group, it brings us further, because it was clearly described in the two sessions, the two panel sessions that there were, what the problems are, and the problems that were addressed by Evelina and her co-panelists, but also the problems in the diagnostics, where we actually need a scientific breakthrough in order to make rapid diagnostics to inform antibiotic prescription available globally. Now we have rapid diagnostics, but they are actually not even that rapid, and they are only available in the very rich countries where they are maybe the least needed.
Yeah.
So there's
So you mean like point of care testing?
Yes.
Yeah.
But point of care testing in such a way that it helps physicians to prescribe antibiotics, and helps patients to accept not to get antibiotics. If it's clear that it's a viral infection for which antibiotics don't work, patients will be reassured if they see that it's a viral infection. And that's one of the lessons that we can take from the COVID crisis, where the self-testing became accepted. It was for the first time that became accepted, at least on a global scale, on such a level.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had an interesting a talk with someone this morning about, it was about antimicrobial use in South Africa, in more deprived areas, resource-deprived areas, how difficult it can be to cut down on the antibiotic or inappropriate antibiotic use, especially if people have to travel far to find healthcare resources, and you know that they will not come back if it turns out to be a bacterial cause or an appropriate reason for antimicrobial use. So that is something that is quite difficult, I believe. Evelina, you said we need to do this globally, but there are such large differences in the countries and their healthcare organization. How can we get a global, uniform manner to tackle antimicrobial inappropriate use?
Yeah, I mean, you said it, so there is no uniform approach. So I think one of the mistakes done until now is to think that you could have a global approach. When I speak about global approach, I mean that the first lesson to learn is that the heterogeneity is linked to the availability of drugs, the way the healthcare setting is built, availability of diagnostic, and organization of the healthcare. What would be the global approach? And from my point of view, is that the awareness is such a high level that is like let's make a very simple example, the pollution. Pollution is not the same in all the European countries, not at global level. There are countries that are contributing more and countries that are very much contributing really a few. But the system agreed with a lot of difficulties that there is a problem and we must stand. And we even decide that there are some cutoff that should not be, should not be surpassed in a way, but we never did it for the antimicrobial resistance. Somebody said during the meeting that probably we need a Greta Thunberg that every Wednesday does not go to school for antimicrobial resistance.
Yeah.
I propose my son, he would love to do that. But I mean,
does he stand behind that too?
But I mean, that's the message. It's time to say, you know, if there is a hospital that cannot account the number of infections they have, that is not responsible of the antimicrobial usage, then you need to close down that hospital. Or you need to have specific procedure to control it. That's part of the problem. Then there is many other aspects, but this is one part important.
So you're saying for AMR, it's time for activism now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no more waiting. Do you believe that that this GLG-ESCMID meeting was an important first step? Can I say it that way?
It was an important first step after the pandemic. Because I was just thinking 20 years ago it must have been that Lou Rice at ECCMID had this famous speech, and he pointed directly to the pharmaceutical company as the, let's say, co-creator of this problem. And he said, if you break it, you own it. So he told the pharmaceutical companies, you have produced all these antibiotics, you have helped that they are overprescribed and overused, now you must help us to control that problem.
Fix it,
to fix it. And actually in 20 years that has not happened. And actually what has happened is that there are less new antibiotics. So there are no new, and the antibiotic development has come to a pause already 20 years ago because it's not lucrative to design new antibiotics. That's also a part of the problem because also for the very resistant bacteria we need working antibiotics. The other point is that we together broke it and own it now because the physicians, the Global Society of Physicians, has created the problem. We prescribe antibiotics, we give them to all persons that think that they need it. So all of us own the problem, and I think this is a first step to create that awareness.
Yeah, it starts with awareness that everyone starts owning this problem. Yeah. Well, I think that's an excellent conclusion of the importance of this meeting that you both spoke as panelists. Thank you both for coming here into the ECCMID TV studio and elucidating that a little bit further. Thank you very much for your time. We wish you a very pleasant and educational further ECCMID. For our viewers, we will be taking a short break, but we will be back at the clock of 3 sharp when we will be inviting Professor Adrian Egli to our studio, who is one of this year's keynote lecturers. So we will be talking a little bit more with him about digital technologies, application of digital technologies such as machine learning in infectious diseases and clinical microbiology. So don't miss out. We hope to see you at 3.